So, good morning, everyone. Today we will
Namaste.
start our discussion
Good morning, sir.
that will continue our previous lecture. And in previous class, we were discussing about case processing, in which we have just started the first point of case processing, and that is analysis of case. And in analysis of case, the first and most important part that Hahnemann has begun with is removal of the effects of causa occasionalis and removal of causa occasionalis. As you have already studied causa occasionalis in your second year, third year, now in your final year, if we discuss this topic, so we have to go through in a slight different way, in slight more depth. And so for this discussion of analysis of case, I would like to give you some guideline regarding the importance and meaning what Hahnemann meant when he says exciting cause, maintaining cause, and regarding causa occasionalis. So we will begin today with a study of causa occasionalis. If we see causa occasionalis, actually those who have book, just open your book and read aphorism number 7, first two sentences. When Hahnemann says causa occasionalis, he doesn't mean first regarding causa occasionalis. If you will see your aphorism number 7, he has emphasized first exciting cause and maintaining cause. Most of the time when in your exam and in other ways when you are being asked about causa occasionalis, you define it is exciting cause and maintaining cause. It is not so. Causa occasionalis, Hahnemann has meant here in under bracket. If you see the aphorism, first Hahnemann has described regarding the effects of, regarding the removal of exciting cause and maintaining cause. And to this he named with some reference from the history of medicine and some the reference from the past history regarding causa occasionalis. If we want to understand causa occasionalis simply doesn't mean only the cause of that disease, cause of that happening, cause of that anything, something going on. Causa occasionalis, if we read in our dictionary or this meaning, it is that cause which is responsible for this happening, or it can be said as the reason responsible for this happening or phenomena. This is the literally meaning, but the philosophical meaning that lies behind this, that I have just given you in the next sentence, that all natural causes are not true cause, but only occasional cause. Why I am emphasizing this here, just take what I have given you in the note. Here it is not meant for ultimate cause, true cause or fundamental cause. If I say cause of the occasion, then we must have to understand the cause and effect relationship of different philosophical aspect. Then we have to understand in homeopathic literature what type of causes that Hahnemann has discussed. And for different type of causes, Hahnemann has discussed different ways of dealing with those causes. Each cause is not meant for dealing in the same way. Just for example, if we go to the introductory part where Hahnemann is discussing Tolly Kosam. Here, actually, Hahnemann is criticizing the cause. The reference of this criticism is not because he denies the philosophical meaning or importance of cause. Rather, he was denying there because those things which at that time the profession considered as cause of the disease, actually Hahnemann criticized those consideration, those philosophy, because he explain and he understand that those are not the actual cause. And to deny that cause, he criticized causa occasionalis, that removal of cause. And for that, what he suggested is cesset effectus, cesset causa. These two words you must prepare for your understanding as well as for your exam also. So once he was criticizing the cause, when he's saying Tolly Kosam, one, he is undermining the cause and he is giving importance to the expression, to the phenomena, to the symptomatology, and then he described that cesset effectus, cesset causa. If the effects are diminished, if the effects are removed, then what is behind that effect will also be removed. And that is the meaning of cesset effectus, cesset causa. But causa occasionalis, he said regarding this exciting and maintaining cause in a context of history of philosophy. And here we must understand, if we say the cause of this happening, the cause of this occasion, or the cause of this phenomena, then we must have to understand that any effect, any phenomena, anything that is going on is not just because of one phenomena, is not just because of one thing that is going on. Rather, a web of channel, a web of phenomena are considered to pinpoint one happening, to pinpoint one thing that is going on. Among them, one is called ultimate. Ultimate cause is not multiple, it is one. One is called ultimate cause, one is called true cause, one is called fundamental cause. And beside this fundamental cause, there are many things that is going on that supplement, that give an accessory influences to those things. And those causes, those accompanying causes, those seemingly close causes are called causa occasionalis. So they are occasional cause. They are not true cause. They are not real cause. If we go to the history of philosophy, then we will find that the term occasional cause has been suggested as originating from a French philosopher, Louis de la Forge. His life period was between 1632 to 1666, who in his famous work, Treatise on Human Mind, expounded a doctrine of causa occasionalis. And very interestingly, you will find that he is the follower of René Descartes. You must have heard the name of René Descartes. He belongs to the 1500 something. And he was the propagator of Cartesian principles. During that time, this causa occasionalis afterwards is being also discussed by Avicenna. This causa occasionalis is also having a reflections from Aristotelian philosophy. And this was, in that time in history of philosophy, was discussed in connection with the things that is going on, that whatever we are doing, whatever is happening, whether only this what we are able to see is the cause behind this happening, or something else is handling this. And especially it was related to, at that time, the philosophy of religion. The philosophy of religion as related to the Christianity, as well as related to Islam, and in which their philosophy says that whatever is going on is due to the order of, is due to the reason of the supreme power, what we name him as God. Then what is next, that what is we are doing here? If everything is going according to the will of the God, then what is our role? And that our role, that the natures that we are going in apparently, is one of the factor that is occasionally it is going to be happen. Occasionally we are not whole and sole responsible for this phenomena. Rather, we are one of the occasional part of this phenomena. If something is bound to happen, it will happen. No doubt, the triggering factor may be this, that, or that. Just for example, just a recent example there. If someone is having in his fundamental mathematic state a predisposition to develop cancer, then he will develop cancer. Whether the reason behind for developing him in a cancerous state, it may be smoking. If he is at all devoid of smoking, it may be alcohol. If he had not taken any stage of in his life any alcohol, then it may be emotional distress. It may be due to his work pressure. It may be due to his environmental condition. These all will take part as an occasional cause, not the true cause. True cause is that he has a tendency to develop this. No matter it will be from this, they will be different form. And so these different varieties comes under a group of this occasionalists, the concept of occasionalism, the philosophy of occasionalism, not philosophy of fundamentalism, not philosophy of ultimate truth. And that is the philosophy behind when Hahnemann has described under bracket in aphorism number 7, when he described occasionalists, that the cause that is occasionalist, it is not true, it is not fundamental, it is not original. It super added immediate reasoning, one triggering factor, not the original supplier. And that is called causa occasionalis. If we go to this philosophical understanding of this causa occasionalis, according to this Forger, global occasionalism accordingly holds that all creaturely causations is at most occasional, while divine causation is uniquely genuine. That what I have told you just now. In contrast, those who are willing to endorse some genuine causation on the part of creature, hence restricted occasional cause to a limited domain, will be described as endorsing a form of occasional causalism. ये जो local causalism की बात है, this is what, just for example, if one state, if in India we consider, if UP is endorsing a regulation Whether only the UP government is responsible for that, it must have a background of central permission for major thing. Even that only central permission is not enough until and unless it has a constitutional provision behind that. We can blame that this government has doing this, but actually this government is nothing but just an occasional part of that regulation, that what is going on, that order that happening. The reason behind that, the base of that is different thing. Similarly, in this paragraph, especially it is the paragraph that is being discussed with the concept of occasionalism, when it was a discussion of Avicenna and Aristotelian in contrast with the religion aspect, and that he says that the genuine cause, the real happening is nothing but that we call the genuinity is the causation, it is the order of the divine. And out of that, what we are taking part is a part of occasionalism. We may be replaced for one happening. Just for example, हम किसी की हेल्प करते हैं तो हम समझते हैं कि हमने उसकी मदद की. एक्चुअली मदद करवाने वाला ऊपर वाला होता है, मकसद करवाने वाला गॉड होता है. अगर आप नहीं होते, हम नहीं होते, तो कोई तीसरा आ जाता, उसका मदद होता वहां पे. सो वी आर जस्ट एन ओकेजन कि हम एक रेस्पॉन्सिबल हो गए वहां पे, एक पार्ट हो गए उस फेनोमेना के. इफ गॉड इज विलिंग टू हेल्प हिम, he will help him in other way, in any way. If you or anyone among you may take part as a occasional factor. So this was the consideration regarding this. Why I am discussing it here, because once again just come to this slide. What here in aphorism number 7 Hahnemann wants to say is regarding exciting cause and maintaining cause. That means in a case we have to remove this, because this is not the ultimate cause. They are the causes which can be managed. They are the causes which can be removed. They are the causes which can be corrected. If they are the things that need correction, if they are the things that need management, for those type of condition, Hahnemann has not advised prescription. For those type of conditions, Hahnemann has not advised medication. Hahnemann in his philosophy has very clearly written a scope of medicine and a scope of homeopathy is not equal. Homeopathy is not just a therapeutic system. Rather, it is a system of medicine. If we see medicine and therapeutic system, they differ in their philosophical understanding. If we say system of medicine, it deals with all the formulations, all the parameters or the guidelines of health, as well as all the parameters of maintaining the health, that is work prior to that anything happens as unwanted event. जिसको आप बहुत अच्छे से समझ सकते हो if we read aphorism number 4. Aphorism number 4 is one of the very important part of our homeopathic system of medicine, where Hahnemann says, he is likewise a preserver of health if he knows the things that deranges health and causes disease and how to remove them from person in health. What he says, if he knows the things, that means you have to know each and everything that may disturb human health. And only knowing is not enough. You have to be proactive here. You have to prevent the society from getting its influence. You have to prevent the disturbance taking part to the society. That means here you will be called as a preserver of health if you are proactive, if you have a foresightedness, if you act a priori before it take place, and you can perceive these all if you are aware of this. If you are doing this, it is not a part of therapeutic. And that's why I am saying homeopathy is not just a therapeutic system. Therapeutic part, Hahnemann has described in the role as a therapeutist in aphorism number 1. But in aphorism number 4, it is not a therapeutic part. It is not as a therapist. He is as a preserver. And this both as a therapeutist, as a preserver, is a part of medicine. Medicine is not just dealing with curing your patient. It is having much more work of preserving the health, preserving the society, not letting it go into the state of disease. And for this part, the understanding of things that may cause harm to your health, this a priori knowledge is important to understand, and this understanding will lead you to understand the difference of the effects, that these are the effects that is due to the fundamental reason, these are the effects due to the fundamental cause, and these are the effects that is added on. This added on cause must be removed, and until and unless we remove these sort of causes, until and unless we remove these type of influencing symptoms from our case, then we will not get a pure set of symptoms. We will not get a true symptom picture. And for making totality of symptom, we need true symptom. We need pure symptom. Then only on based on those pure symptoms, the totality based on that, we will able to prescribe. So in this part, what Hahnemann has emphasized is the removal of exciting and maintaining cause. To this, we will discuss one by one. You must have studied this, but here we will go in slight details regarding understanding of exciting cause, what actually exciting cause is, and then regarding maintaining cause. I think due to this time, today we will restrict our to the exciting cause. What is exciting cause? A cause which excite a condition. I'm not saying here a disease condition, because now we are dealing with this health and disease part, so we are dealing with disease. But if we consider in a general way, it may be anything, any happening, and so it is better to say, we say exciting cause, a cause which excite a condition. As here we are dealing a disease and health, as we are here dealing with the medicine part, so we will call it a disease condition. And so in other words, you can also say it, a cause which excite a disease condition, excite a disease condition. Hence it is named, that is called exciting cause. The word itself describes one thing, and that is due to this, what he says, excite. When we say excite, that itself shows that something is there to which we are poking. If there is nothing, to whom we will poke, to whom we will excite. So by saying exciting cause, indirectly we are saying that something is there that we are going to excite, then we must understand to whom we are going to excite. That itself once again says one of the understanding of homeopathic doctrine, doctrine of masm, doctrine of susceptibility, doctrine of your constitutional state, the condition of your immunity, that these are the factors that produces a field, a soil, a condition, a predisposed situation. If there is no predisposed such situation, we have nothing to excite to. We have nothing to which we will poke. And that's why no external factor can produce any alteration if there is no previous condition, there is no a priori condition that is already settled in. If there is settled in the condition, then anything will come and excite. If not this, then that. If not this, then that. So it may be in a different way. To understand this, when we say exciting and maintaining cause, the two type of cause Hahnemann has described here, he has described it with a background that one cause, that exciting cause, is for one set of disease condition. Another cause that he named as maintaining cause, that is for another set of disease condition. If we remember, once again, those who have Organon textbook, just open aphorism number 5, and all the, just listen me, all the 4th year students, kindly write your name in the chat box for your attendance. All 4th year students, write your name in the chat box for your attendance. So what we are discussing, those who have textbook, just open the textbook. In aphorism number 5, Hahnemann has described very clearly that practically we have only 2 types of natural diseases. Only 2 criterias of practical division of diseases. Only 2 polars, 2 poles are there to which we can classify all the disease condition, and these 2 poles are nothing but, one is called acute, one is called chronic. This is the basic division. And considering these 2 basic division in mind, Hahnemann has given here for correction, for analysis of case, these 2 different type of causes. Your first cause is exciting cause. Your first cause related to the acute disease, what Hahnemann in aphorism number 5 has described. And so when we say exciting cause, it means that this cause is going to excite something that is already present there. That is what is already present there. Again, we will discuss afterwards. For understanding, you can understand, that is called the soil. That is called a predisposed condition. That is called your susceptibility. That is called a defect of your constitution. That is called a diathesis. So many other names you can name it. That is called your weakness of immunity. That is called your different levels of your health, to which this cause is going to excite. Excite for what? For a purpose. And that this exciting will lead you a disturbance in your health. Again, this disturbance will depend on the state of the soil, the weakness of the soil, the dynamicity of the soil, as well as the strength of the exciting cause. Both together will decide that what will be the magnitude of the effect, and that magnitude of the effect varies. If exciting cause is not having enough magnitude, and if the soil is having a good strength, it is having a good levels of health, then this exciting cause may cause just indisposition, not disease condition. And if the condition is reversed, if the exciting cause is powerful, or if the soil condition is very low, then it will transform into a disease condition. In last class, one of the student among you have asked me just to, I remember that, explain what is the threshold. Actually, this is the threshold. If you have, if you remember your background of physics, any force, if it will take into a part of work, then the force and the work is decided by the amount of friction that is restricting the force of inertia that is acting on that substance, that is related to the called restriction or friction. What force you have applied, if that magnitude cross that force of inertia, or you can say that force of resistance, that force is called actually threshold. After that, work will be done. Before that, work will not be done, because it has not crossed the minimum required energy, the minimum amount of energy that required to cross that friction. Here I am using this term of physics because this resistance, this friction, that minimum amount is required to take place is your level of health, is your immunity, is the resistance capacity of your vital force or your body, that this much external influence you can handle without getting disturbed, without getting disease. And that is the threshold of your vitality. That is the threshold of your resistance. If the cause is more powerful than your resistance power, then it will cross your threshold power, and then it will produce illness in you. So this exciting cause in itself decide or define two things: that something is present already to which we are going to excite. Another thing, exciting cause is for the cause of acute or transient or self-limiting disease. Again, what I have told you just for aphorism number 5 to open. Exciting cause is responsible for, it is the cause that is to consider under the domain of your acute disease, under the domain of your self-limiting disease. Second word sentence I have told that it may happen that this exciting cause bring a chronic condition on surface. Again, this is called acute condition, but this acute condition is called acute exaggeration of a chronic disease. So one thing is clear, that exciting cause will always cause only acute condition. In a fresh case, it is typically acute disease or acute condition, or in a chronic condition, it will produce acute exaggeration of a chronic condition. I think time is just going out of our control. So further details about this exciting cause and the maintaining cause we will study in our next class. Till then, I will advise you for our next class you must read aphorism number 77 at your home before we continue our next class. Aphorism number 208, aphorism number 204, footnote of aphorism number 206, because these aphorisms will help you to understand analysis of case. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.